Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Alex again with you, and today we're going to talk about a very unique product, the FlexBEAM. And we want to start with an overview so you can see the overall length of the machine, the width, and the overall features, and then we're going to dissect part by part how the machine works, some of the technical specifications, and everything that you need to know about the FlexBEAM. FlexBEAM is a very unique product. It's definitely something that we're very proud of it because we understand our customers. In this case, we're targeting a lot of the fabricators, those that need to process a lot of steel in a very, very short amount of time. And FlexBEAM gives you that flexibility. With the open bed concept, you can put the beams, you can put profiles, you can put any piece of steel as fast as you can, secure it with your hydraulic foot, and then perform either light milling to drilling operations, very basic. As you can see here, we have some really light milling. We have tested some tools beyond 2 inches, and your maximum tool diameter is probably around 2 inches and 3/4. And obviously, with the 18 horsepower spindle, you can definitely perform a lot of operations with one single machine. Thank you. That was a great overview. And specifically, this machine that we're looking at right now, it consists of a 45-foot long. It's a 45-foot long machine, but the bed that you can use for machining is 40 foot. In this case, we're using 2.5 foot on each side, so the machine can travel along the x-axis, and you can determine when do you want to stop and when do you want to start. In this case, this machine is 12 foot tall, and you have a clearance on the drilling portion of the machine of 9 inches. That allows you to have something underneath, some sort of fixturing or something to position the workpiece, or simple. You just want to have something that you don't want to see or you don't want to view. The work table, it's 41 inches tall, and we also have a 44 inches in length on the width of the table. So in this case, we have portions of 5 foot from end to start of each portion, and then we have segments of the machine that it's 15 foot. The drilling portion of the machine, it's around, I want to say 10,000 pounds. And each section, it's between 3,000 and 4,000 pounds. So if you want to do the installation for the machine, so you have to have at least a 15 to 12,000 pounds crane, so you can move all the parts and being able to assemble it. One of the important features about this machine is obviously the spindle. We have a spindle with 18 horsepower. It's a belt-driven spindle in this case with a ratio of 2:1 and with a maximum RPMs of 3,000 RPMs. That gives us a lot of flexibility, especially with the new tooling and all the new tool paths, new operations. It's definitely a good range that you can have for all this new tooling. And I want to start dissecting the machine, and we're going to talk first about the Lunar Guides. So let's work and see some of those videos. In this case, on x-axis, we have a series of linear guides, and also we have a rack and pinion combination. The guides are 45 millimeters wide, and the rack and pinion, the rack is 29 millimeters. As you can see, we have the motor on X. That motor is 1.3 horsepower. And we can have a rapid of 1,100 inches per minute on X. You can see it's heavy duty. All the equipment that we have here is designed to allow maximum torque, because what we want is to have maximum performance. The next thing that we're going to see are the linear guides that we have on the y-axis. And those are used to be able to displace the column as efficient and as smooth as possible. In this case, the hydraulic foot and the ball screw for the y-axis, they're obviously optimized to have the best precision that you can have in a machine like this one. We have the spindle with the ball screw as well, and you have a 24-inch displacement with a distance between the spindle and the table of between 2 inches and 20 inches. As you can see, we have an electrical bus bar right here underneath the table that is used to provide power to the entire drilling section of the machine. And obviously everything is hidden, everything is protected with a PVC cover, so there's no risk of getting some sort of an accident. So you can see we have segments, so we can make this machine as long as you want it. We have from 20 foot, 25 foot, 35 foot, 40, or any length that you want, because we only need to add sections to it. So it's very easy for us to customize that bed length for you. The next one that we're going to talk about is the electrical cabinet. In this case, you can see all our drives, all our components are based on CK3E. Everything runs on EtherCAT, and it makes our control a lot easier. We have our own software. We develop our own software in-house, and we make sure that all our developments are pushed through our customers on a regular basis, either 6 months to 1 year. We have constantly developing new features that we're adding to the software. In this case, we have a workpiece right now. This machine, we're trying to be as sustainable as possible and try to reuse our machines that we have in the shop for any other purpose, either our production for some of our arms or some of our CNC machines. And in this case, we were thinking about how to use the machine in-house. So, well, we had an idea. If we are trying to expand our capacity in our factory, in our shop, and we're building another section of the shop, well, the best way to use this machine is to have all the steel treated here, and obviously do all the operations, the machining operations, and then just send it back to the other facility so we can expand and grow and be better. The next thing that we want to talk about is probably some of the hydraulic foot and pump. In this case, we have a 2 horsepower pump that is running at 1500 RPM, and it has a displacement of 25.6 inches. Everything in our cabinet is running at 400 volts, and the pump for the hydraulic foot to lock the workpiece, it's probably around 1200 psi of maximum pressure with a 6.6 gallon tank. In this case, you can see that also the hydraulic foot has a couple of cylinders that allows the foot to move in 2 different directions, obviously the positive and negative, with a maximum of 5 inches. You can see it there going down, and you can go either left or right, plus minus 5 inches. We use an air compressor of 3 horsepower. It's also running at around 11 to 1200 RPM, and the airflow is probably between 100 and 110 gallons per minute, and a maximum pressure of 145 psi. You can see it running on the top of the machine, and on the bottom, I think this is a nice feature that you probably saw it in the video. These are some safety measures or safety bumpers that we have, that if you touch those bumpers, essentially the machine is going to stop. It's one of those features. Let's say if there's an object that interrupting your path, then obviously the machine needs to stop. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is the counterbalance. The counterbalance is used for the spindle. We are running it with nitrogen. It's a standard feature that we have in all our machines, either the CNC or the FlexBEAM. It's something that we have seen give us a lot of good and positive results, so we keep using it time and time. The next one is that air compressor, as you can see on the left. And all the lines and everything is covered under the drilling unit, so you won't be able to see anything, but it also has very good access. If you want to just go in the back, you can replace, you can change. I mean, maintenance is obviously very, very easy for this machine. Everything is accessible. There is a lot of room to work, so if something happens, which most likely it won't, but you have the ability to be able to make modifications and make repairs. This is built-in air. That's why we have the compressor there, just so you don't need an external line or something in your shop. Everything is run in a closed loop, so you don't need anything external beyond power. In this case, everything runs at 400, so we'll probably have either a transformer, a step down from 480 to 400 to be able to accommodate everything for the electrical panel. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the tool changer. So in this specific machine, we have the ability to have 6 different tools. And the maximum tool diameter, as I mentioned before, is 2 inches and 3/4, more or less. And the tool length, it's 9 inches, really close to 9 inches. The nicest feature about these tool holders is that we're allowed to have up to 33 pounds. We haven't tested that, but it's designed to accommodate that. And the maximum tool capacity for all the tools combined of 200 pounds. It requires 87 psi of pressure to operate, and we have 2 different options for the taper. It's either Cat 40 or BT 40. If there's a need to accommodate a different type of taper or cone, just let us know and we'll try to make those changes. We can clearly customize the machine, and if for example, you tell us that, hey, I want to change that spindle ratio and I want a different maximum RPM so I can have the maximum torque possible from the motor, we can potentially do that as well. And we're here to be able to provide all those changes and make sure that you get the best machine for your application. If you need information about, let's say, the torque, you can go on our website, Flex Machine Tools, and you can find the torque charts. I know that from 0 to about 1,000 RPMs, you're going to be around 120 foot-pounds of torque. And after the 1,000 RPMs, it starts decreasing on those values. So I think the next step that we're going to be talking about is the motor. As you can see, the spindle motor, we have a belt-driven spindle and a motor that is 18 horsepower, as I mentioned it before. We also allow external and internal mist lubrication, as you can see is running right there, through the spindle coolant. And we have seen very good results to the spindle coolant applications. And it really minimizes the amount of lubrication that you require, but maximizes the performance. In this case, I believe we have a reservoir of 3 liters, but you can go up to 16 liters in lubrication. So it's a very, very diverse or range that capacity that you can have, and everything can be mounted in the machine. It doesn't necessarily add a lot of weight, and we already accounted for the maximum large capacity tanks. In this case, we don't need that big of a tank, so we only have a 3 liter. Now the next, when we do the installation, as you can see, we have some leveling plates or anchorages. The long ones that you can see are 24 inches or 2 foot, and the small ones are 6 inches. We also have the leveling pins or centering pins, as you can see in the middle. We use that to, obviously, like its name, just to center all the pieces and make sure everything is aligned properly. But we always ask our customers before we get to on site is to have the proper foundation, and we require some anchor threaded bolts. Typically it's M12, and we need a minimum of 5 inches deep. That's what the minimum that we require in order to install this machine. The next thing I want to talk about is the hard stops. As you can see, to position the part is very, very easy. It's probably around 1 inch in width and also 3/4 of an inch. But it is also possible to add optional fixturing options. Let's say if you want to position certain angles or certain things that might not necessarily fit for this work table, then we can accommodate those requests. If you need some hydraulic clamps or some sort of fixturing device, we can engineer all those solutions for you, because we want to deliver the highest performance and also the highest production. Our intent here at Flex Machine Tools is obviously always targeting high performance, and at the same time obtain the best production that we can have out of machines and the best ROI. Now, one of the features of the machine, as you can see, there are two things there. One is a laser edge finder that it helps you automatically position your machine right next to or find your zero on the workpiece, and also the tool setter. Those two are combined right next to each other, so it's very accessible, very easy to use, and the machine with all the features makes the operation or the machining and drilling as easy as possible. Really, we're trying to minimize the amount of operations and the amount of time that the operator is using for positioning the part, and make it as simple as possible. The next thing that I want to talk about is who is going to use this machine. Obviously, fabricators, but anybody that needs to process structural parts, profiles, or they want to be able to minimize the amount of time they have for really long parts to travel between one end to the other one. This is the perfect machine. You're going to be able to have a machine as long as you want it, and also we can customize the type of bed that you need for your specific application. So in the end, that is the target. Who needs it? Obviously, whoever is working with long parts, but also is light milling and obviously drilling applications that require really fast cycle times. That's what we're targeting for this specific machine. The next step, I think it's important to talk about the controller, how easy it is to grab, let's say, a work piece from a CAD model and bring it all the way to the machine and start an operation. So for that, I'm going to have Aaron help me with that portion of this segment. So, and also I'm going to let him run a couple of parts and a demonstration of how the machine runs, and I'll come back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So we're going to team view into the controller here. As soon as Isaac gets it pulled up, I'll kind of go over the screen here. So what you're looking at, the monitor has the hard buttons on here for any of your manual movements, starting a program, moving your spindle in and out, obviously your e-stop, switching from manual mode to auto mode. Those are the hard buttons that are on the front of the monitor. And then if we look at the team viewer portion here, we'll pull up this is the actual software that this machine runs off of. It's called NJ-Win. And there's very simple, easy to use, different tabs up here across the top. We'll get into the programming section here in just a minute, but here you got all of your 0 points. That because the machine is so long, you can set certain locations for multiple parts that you can keep stored inside the software here if you're going to come back to the same job later on. Loading tools, creating tools. There's different categories that you're seeing here up at the top: drill, tapping, countersink, milling. Any tool that you're going to process through this machine needs to be created, and then we can all of those tools that you create stay within the software, and it's very easy to then just drop it down into the bottom section, which is what tools are in the actual machine in your automatic tool carousel. The auto tab obviously is pretty self-explanatory. Anytime you're going to run a program automatically, you're going to switch to automatic mode, which we will do here in just a minute. The manual mode, this is where you're going to do all of your manual operations. Here you can tell the machine which tool is in the spindle. You can move your different axes, X and Y. You can turn the spindle on manually. You can even do manual drilling or tapping operations on this screen as well. In the programming tab, which I already have it open, so I'm actually going to open up DrillCam. DrillCam is the programming software that this machine comes standard with. And just like Alex mentioned, you can load a solid model off of whatever CAD system you're using and import it directly into the DrillCam software to program your part. You can see the part that I have here up on kind of a simulation of the machine table. And this helps the machine know where your parts are at. You can load multiple parts on in DrillCam just as you would have them on the machine bed itself. And just like as easy it is to pull in a CAD model, it's also just as easy to create a new part. If you want to create a new part, you can select from a bunch of different profile options. And once you select an option, it's as simple as giving or telling the software the dimensions of that profile. And then from there, it's just adding your different holes. Are you milling a slot? Very simple, easy to use programming software in DrillCam. So that's pretty much the overview of what you're looking at as far as software goes. Like I said, very simple to use. We've had customers who were very happy with how easy it was to learn something new and to take it right from the training course that we provided here at FlexArm and take it right into their shop and have zero downtime, and they're up and running parts as soon as possible. So like Alex mentioned a little bit ago, I'll go ahead and we're going to pop some holes in this I-beam that we have up here on the machine, and we'll watch this machine in action. So one nice thing about this machine is having that hydraulic foot, being able to clamp the part down on top of the table. And as you can see, once we get out of the stroke of where that machine can move on the x-axis with that foot being down, the foot comes up automatically in the program. That's not anything extra that I have to do inside the program. So anytime you're programming parts and you've got holes or profiles all the way down the part, the hydraulic foot is going to automatically raise up. The machine's going to move down, the hydraulic foot will come back down, clamp your part, and the biggest thing is it keeps your fixturing very, very minimal. Those hard stops that Alex talked about a little bit ago, that's essentially your Y0 for every, or I'm sorry, your Z0 for every single program. So having those hard stops all the way down keeps the location of every part very consistent. And from a programming standpoint, the machine always knows right where that starting point is at. So.
Well, thank you, Aaron. That was a great demonstration. And actually, I want to do a brief summary of everything that we talk about today, and maybe we can start with the basic. So this machine is 45 foot long, but you have a working range of 40 foot. This table is 45 inches from the ground, and you have a clearance of 9 inches on the drilling unit, with also 43 inches wide, okay? And then 1 foot on the smallest sections. And everything is running on a 5 foot increments. So every time you want a machine, you can assume, let's say if you want a working range of 25 foot, most likely the machine is going to have to be 30 foot. So that gives you an overall layout for the length of the machine. It's also 12 foot tall and at least 9 foot tall, wide on the drilling unit from the end of the working table to the beginning of the machine. Now the next things we have for the installation, these sections are about 3,000 to 5,000 pounds. The drilling unit is between 10 and maybe 13 to 14,000 pounds, depending on all the options and everything, all the accessories and everything else. We do the installation with centering pills and anchoring the leveling plates. We need a foundation of at least bolted threads of M12 and 6 inches to the ground. We use heavy-duty Lunar Guides on X with a rack and pinion for X with a motor of 1.3 horsepower. And obviously we use ball screws for the C movement and the Y movement. We have a range from the spindle to the table of between 2 and 20 inches for the spindle. We have a displacement of the hydraulic foot of 25.6 inches. and a maximum clamping pressure of roughly, I want to say 1200 psi, and that's a hydraulic foot with a motor of 2 horsepower that is running at 1500 rpm. We used an air compressor of 3 horsepower, and it's also running at about 1100 rpm with 105 gallons per minute. Displacement of the cylinders in each position of 5 inches, a minimum of 5 inches. We have a spindle of 3000 rpm and 120 foot-pounds. What else? We have an electric bus bar that is connected throughout the machine, so you can make the machine as long as you want. And we have internal and external coolant. We have a reservoir of 3 liters. Travel on X, it's obviously your 40 foot. On Y, we have 40 inches or 1 meter. And your travel on Z is the 24 inches. I think overall those are the main technical specifications. We have a couple of hard stops. We have a hand pendant that it's help you a lot when you have to inspect the material, or you have to move the machine, or you can control the feed rate. I mean, it gives you a lot of flexibility. I think overall that's everything on a high level about the machine. If you have more questions or you want to know about it, please go on our website, Flex Machine Tools, and remember to subscribe and like us on YouTube. And if there's any other questions, just give us a note or send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to help you. And thank you very much for watching us today. Thank you.